Our next speaker knows this region not simply as a legislator, but as someone who grew up here. Throughout his years of public service, he has worked to strengthen the communities of the anthracite region while preserving the history that defines them. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Dave Argall.
Thank you, General. I've known our keynote speaker, John Jones, for more than 40 years. And so to you, to your entire family, John, thank you for traveling to Tamaqua to be with us on this very special day. If I have the story right, Tony Odorizzi, Micah Gursky, Pastor Epler, Eric Zilzman, and others have been working on this day for more than 3 years with one simple goal: to eliminate, most of us remember, a very blighted site right here and replace it with something we can all be proud of, this brand new green space, the home of Schuylkill County's Liberty Tree, and here we are. Congratulations to all of them who made this day possible. When John was a young Pottsville attorney, and then a roller hockey dad, and a volunteer with his Eagle Scout son's Boy Scout troop, and then as a member of Governor Ridge's cabinet, and then as a United States District Chief Judge, and now as the president of his alma mater at Dickinson, John has learned the importance of partnerships. This is a key partnership that we're all witnessing here today between the Pennsylvania Freemasons and the Daughters of the American Revolution and so many local volunteers, including some really focused middle school art students and their teacher, Kim Woodward, who made sure that that bell is here and ready today. John, I know there were a lot of other places you could have been this morning other than my hometown. I can only imagine the kind of calls that presidents of colleges get in the middle of the night in 2026. And so I want to welcome a Schuylkill County native who has served us well at the local courthouse, at our state capitol, at the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania, appointed by President George Bush, and unanimously, Representative Barton, I know you're here. That will mean a lot to you. Unanimously confirmed. We don't have enough of that in Washington and Harrisburg anymore, all right? But what impressed me when John was unanimously confirmed, it wasn't just at the recommendation of old friends like me. Much more interesting, I think, to us was the fact that his political opponents came together on that day to encourage his confirmation by the United States Senate. He was then recognized by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the nation, and now, in what truly has to be a labor of love, he serves as the 30th president of Dickinson College. John, to you, to your very patient wife, Beth, to your family for joining us today, welcome to Liberty Tree Park as we celebrate not only the 250th anniversary of this nation, but the continuing revitalization of Tamaqua. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Senator. It's such a pleasure to be here. And yes, we have known each other for almost half a century. Hard to believe. He's not changed a bit. I've changed a lot over that period of time, but it is so good to be with you. And the Senator and I have a number of things in common. One of, well, we're obviously both from Schuylkill County, but another is that we both married women named Beth, and we both married up, I'm happy to say. So it's great to be here. And to Dr. Franklin, great to see you. Your Excellency, His Excellency has been stabbing me repeatedly with his sword. Fortunately, there's no gouge marks on my legs. Mayor, great to be here as well. Representative Barton, good to see you in the back as well. So happy 4th to all of you, and I'm honored to be with you today on this 250th birthday of our republic. And given the fact that Beth and I split our time between Dickinson College, as Dave said, in Carlisle and Pottsville, we do miss the opportunity to see our fellow Schuylkill Countyans. And so it's particularly gratifying. It was particularly gratifying when Micah reached out to me and afforded me the privilege of speaking to you on this auspicious day. I am truly grateful. A quarter of a millennium ago, a group of remarkable men did an extraordinarily courageous thing. They signed their names to a piece of paper that declared in plain and ringing language that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with unalienable rights, and that when a government fails to protect those rights, the people have the power to change it. They did that at the risks of their very lives. As Dr. Franklin famously said, as the group gathered to sign the Declaration, we must all hang together, or most assuredly, we will hang separately. I note also, I'm very proud to say that the founder of the college that I lead as the 30th president, Dr. Benjamin Rush, an eminent physician from Philadelphia, was one of the signers of that Declaration of Independence. This, my friends, is where we come from. Now, as the senator said, I was privileged to spend nearly 2 decades on the federal bench. I presided over countless trials, reviewed evidence, weighed arguments, and applied the law as faithfully as I could, consistent with my oath. Most humbling to me as I did so was the fact that the system of justice that I was a part of had endured for centuries. We should never, ever take that for granted. It is a fact that most of the nations that existed in 1776 have been remade, conquered, or dissolved since then. Empires have risen and fallen. Constitutions have been written, passed, and torn up. And yet here we are in this great borough of Tamaqua in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, one of the original colonies, subject to the very same Constitution that was ratified in 1788. That alone, my friends, is worth celebrating. There are many reasons, many other reasons to celebrate America's birthday, of course. Consider the First Amendment to the Constitution, the guarantee that you can stand up in a public square or a church or write in a newspaper or online and say what you believe without fear of imprisonment. This right is rarer in the world than most Americans realize. Consider also the 14th Amendment, the promise written after the Civil War that no state shall deny any person the equal protection of the laws. This amendment, in its time, took courage to enact. It has taken even more courage over time to make its promise a reality. I have often spoken about the concept of judicial independence because I think the term is misunderstood. It does not mean that jurists can do whatever they please. Rather, it is the idea, radical when it was conceived, that courts should be free from political pressure, that a judge's job is not to please the powerful, but to apply the law to the facts, whoever the parties before the judge may be. I have lived that principle, and I have seen it tested, and I have seen it hold. As citizens of this community, you too are worth celebrating. You vote, you serve on juries, you volunteer as coaches, and in so many other civic endeavors. You run for local offices and seats on school boards. You argue vigorously with your family and friends about politics. This is the essence of a vibrant democracy, which has never, ever been a spectator sport. In its preamble, the Constitution invokes the phrase, "in order to form a more perfect union." Let's be honest. As a country, we're still working at that aspirational goal, because this country has not always lived up to its founding promises. We declared that all men are created equal while enslaving many. We extended liberty to some while denying it to others for far too long. But we know this: America has an extraordinary capacity for self-correction. American history is never linear. It does not always arc up. Rather, it bends and sometimes doubles back in a way that makes it hard sometimes to see where it's going. But the genius of the Founding Fathers was that they designed the Constitution for argument. Yes, argument, structured argument, peaceful argument, and productive argument that leads somewhere that is just. The founders knew that democracy would be messy business, and they were, of course, correct. The American story has never been one of perfection. Rather, it is the persistent, sometimes painful, and other times glorious pursuit of it. 250 years later, we're still working at this, and that is okay. Since leaving the bench to lead my alma mater, as Dave indicated, in 2021, I've had the privilege of working with some of the best and brightest college students. You likely know, and I know there's some college students here today, that students are incredibly stressed. Could be AI, could be the job market, could be the increasingly dangerous world that we live in, these tumultuous times. Students feel existential threats all around them. But when they participate in commencement, as my graduating class of 2026 did just a couple months ago, and I do this every year, my closing remarks to them contain this mandate. Now, go out and change the world. And I am always fully confident that these graduates and others will do just that. I have no question that they will continue the quest for a more perfect union, and that gives me great hope. Let me close with this short story. John Adams was, of course, our second president and one of the architects of American independence. And in 1776, in the thick of the Revolution, he wrote a letter to his wife, Abigail. In it, he imagined how future generations would celebrate this day. He wrote that he hoped it would be commemorated as a day of deliverance, celebrated with pomp and parade, with shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other. John Adams got it right. He nailed it, didn't he? 250 years later, we are the future that John Adams envisioned. We are the answer to John Adams's hope. The central question that we must answer, and indeed this question obtains for every generation, or these questions obtain, are first, whether we will honor the inheritance that has been passed down to us. Will we be as faithful to the promise of the Republic as the people who handed it to us? And whether 50 years from now, 100 years hence, on the 300th and 400th anniversaries of this day, will our descendants look back on us and say, they kept the faith? I firmly believe that they will. I believe this because I have seen what Americans do when the moment requires it. I have seen it in courtrooms. I've seen it in communities, in times of crisis and in times of renewal. I have seen our citizens rise to meet the demands of self-government again and again in ways that would delight John Adams and his colleagues. So today, let's celebrate this imperfect but marvelous country loudly and with passion. Be joyful and reflect on what it means to be a part of something larger than ourselves. Happy birthday, America. And God bless this wonderful community and everyone in it. Congratulations on this beautiful park. Thank you for the privilege of speaking to you on this momentous day. Thank you so much.